right. Good morning, everybody. What is up? Welcome to another last minute NFL Sunday betting live stream with myself and the ParlayDoc, aka Andrew Kim. I love how you go by the ParlayDoc. You're also known as your legal name, which is Andrew Kim, but you're known as the ParlayDoc. Drinking out of a Bears mug, Bears cup. They can't hurt you today because I believe they're on bye.
Yeah, savoring their victory. So
yeah, they cannot hurt you today. Andrew, what is up?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Just, cold, snowy, rainy weather in Chicago. But, had a good Thanksgiving. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving and just ready to make some money today. So,
yeah, it's snowing here in Denver as well. So,
there you go.
Yeah, classic. So appreciate everybody who is in here for tuning in. I know there are a lot of places people could go on Sunday morning. So, it's always cool when people choose us. If you're here, make yourself known in the chat. Questions, comments, concerns, whatever it may be. We're just going to go game by game, giving our picks. So first up, Broncos versus Texans. What do you have in this one?
So even though the Texans have screwed me multiple times, not being able to cover, and I know the Broncos and, Russ have had somewhat of a revival a bit on offense. And if you look at his QBR stats and even their defense, so they've been coming along. So I give them that. So, I will say, though, I don't know that they've been tested fully with a team that could just keep pushing the ball repeatedly down the field and just willing to launch it against this still vulnerable secondary, in my opinion. So I'm still going to lean Texans -3. You can still grab that at -110 at Bet Rivers. I also kind of like the total just because the Broncos have been able to put up the ball. My only concern about the over, though, is if you look at pace of play, they're almost on opposite end of the spectrums. Like Texans are above average and they want to push the pace, and the Broncos are still kind of a grind of an offense. So that's my one concern. But I think over 47 is not bad, but I like Texans -3 more than the over. But main markets, I actually like both angles. So I'm actually going to be focusing on the main markets for this game. So Texans -3. Over 47, -110 at Caesars as well for that one. So
sure. So I'm actually on the opposite end of you. I'm on the Broncos, but I got them at +3.5. It's that extra. It's that extra half point.
Yeah,
that is extremely important. Extremely important. Yeah, you need that comfort if they end up losing by a field goal. I don't know. Like I'm not really a believer in Russell Wilson, but I am at least a believer in the Broncos defense that has like really impressively turned it around. I feel like if you just strictly look at advanced stats, they're going to be terrible because of that 70-point debacle. But since then, they've been pretty good. Like they beat the Bills, they beat the Chiefs. Granted, that Bills victory was pretty lucky, but they still beat them. The Chiefs victory was when Mahomes had the flu. So who really knows how I don't know how 100% he was, whatever.
Sure.
But I still been impressed with what I see from this defense, and I'm just not quite there, ready to trust the Texans to take care of business. They're still a young team. They're a little bit banged up. And it was literally like a month ago where they just totally laid an egg against the Panthers. So it was the Panthers' only victory the entire year. Even though, like, if you're giving me just who's going to win straight up, I would predict the Texans. I just think that over a field goal is too rich for my blood. So I like the Broncos to cover the spread in this one.
Gotcha.
All right, moving on. Another fantastic game. Actually, the Broncos-Texans might be a good game, but in this one, probably not a great game. Chargers-Patriots. I'm also taking the underdog to cover in this one. Patriots +5.5, -115 at FanDuel. It's going to feel disgusting because of how gross the Patriots offense is. Mac Jones has been relegated to third-string quarterback now, so we're going to get Bailey Zappi with apparently some packages for their rookie. Malik Cunningham, I believe, is the guy's name. But I really I cannot put my faith in the Chargers to cover over a field goal. I don't think they're 4-7. Mm-hmm. They're 4-7. That's disgusting. When you consider they have Justin Herbert, they have Keenan Allen, they have Austin Eckler, they have a lot of talent up and down that defense. But their defense is always consistently bad. And their coach, aside from Ron Rivera, is the biggest buffoon in the NFL. Like he's now at the point where he's yelling at the media for criticizing his defense when his defense is losing them these games. Like they lost to the Lions because their defense. They lost to the Packers because their defense. And then last game, they put up 10 points. Granted, a good defense in the Ravens, but they still put up 10 points. So I'm just totally out on the Chargers. And I know how bad the Patriots are. For me, this is more of a fade than the Chargers than it is being confident in the Patriots. So give me 5.5 points for anybody playing the Chargers. It could be a high school team, and I'm probably going to take it.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I'm too nervous, and I've been burned a couple times this season, and then I learned my lesson. I said I'm never going to trust Chargers spread. So I do have a couple bets on this nasty game. I'm rolling with the under, so I'm not a unders guy, but this just to me screams under. 39.5. I like that number. So I'm going to go under 39.5. There's a little bit of juice, minus 120 on FanDuel for a couple reasons. Like you said, everything that Matt said, but look, the Chargers, I love Justin Herbert. I think he's still going to be an amazing quarterback. He just needs to be, I don't know, somehow placed in a better setting or get some talent around him. And there's just so many injuries with the receiver core that even though, this is not an elite Belichick defense, they're good enough of a defense that I do think I see multiple drives stalling out for the Chargers. The Pats side on offense is just a mess. I do think Stevenson's going to get a ton of touches, but that's going to drain a lot of clock. So I do see this as an unders game. So I'm rolling with under 39.5, minus 120 on FanDuel. It's lower at a lot of other books, so I like that extra half point. A prop I do have here is I am going to go with Ramondre Stevenson over 14.5 rushing attempts. It is juiced, but I'm willing to eat that juice. It's minus 130 on DraftKings because if Zeke's not totally healthy and then you have Bailey Zappi who's coming in, despite all the Zappi hype in the past, right? The last couple games, like the one thing that has not changed with the Belichick Pats offense is he's like, we're going to run it down your throat and hope our D is going to carry us. And he had 20 and 21 carries in the last two games. So don't tell me in this game where you have Bailey Zappi and a team you can actually run on that he's not going to get touches. So over 14.5, I'll eat the minus 130 juice on that. So I'm taking Stevenson to go way over that line. I did forget to mention in the other game, I did have a prop for the Texans, Brevin Jordan, over 2.5 receptions, plus 114. His receiving lines got steamed up. Oh my God. I think it was closer to freaking 11, 12 yards. And now it's 22, 23. So I'm not going to touch that at this point. I missed that. But the Broncos have given up so many, passes and dinks and dunks to running backs, and running backs have basically, they're willing to give that up, basically, is what I'm saying. And it seems like he's taking the workload over Pierce. He got 6 receptions last game. Granted, it was against the Jags, but, I think with some pressure, you're going to get some dump off. So I did take Brevin Jordan over 2.5 receptions at plus money, plus 114. So that and Stevenson are the 2 player props from these last 2 games. So
I like it. Yeah, that Brevin Jordan one, it's Schultz is out, and the Texans passed the ball a ton. So
yeah.
I can definitely see that. One comment that I wanted to get to, Eckler over 30.5 receiving yards. This is not an official play for me, but I do like it. There's nobody. It's Keenan Allen, and that's it in terms of receiving threats for the Chargers. Quentin Johnson is terrible. I'm pretty sure Palmer is still banged up. The tight ends are so unreliable. Even though it's been a weird year for Eckler, and he's been complaining about his usage rate and stuff, and he just hasn't looked the same. Yeah. I do like that one. So I would recommend taking the Eckler over receiving yards. All right, next game, Lions versus Saints. What do you have for me in this one?
Oh boy. Man, the Lions really let me down their last game.
Against the Packers, yeah.
Yeah, that was something else. I just have not. I can't remember the last time I saw a team just more willing and wanting to just throw away a game like that. That's just so many turnovers. Oh my God! But this is a tough one. I don't like the number, so I don't think it's a strong bet. But I would still. I like a chance for a bounce back from a focused, balanced Lions team. I know it's a decent D. I know they don't want to give up the deep ball, but I think the Lions are patient and willing enough to kind of eat you up in the middle with dinks and dunks and short passes. So I'm going to take lean Lions -4 as even though it sucks, it's over a key number, but Lions -4, -110 on FanDuel. That's what I'm going to roll with on this game. So
cool. I got a couple in this one, but before that, some comments. Dave Montgomery, anytime touchdown. I like it. It's -130, so I would only really use it in a parlay piece because it's so heavily juiced. But
yeah,
I mean and we'll talk about David Montgomery for my picks, but the Saints running defense has not been good recently. So I like that one. For this next comment, St. Brown first touchdown. I don't dabble in the first touchdown market. I know the odds are really juicy. It's just not something that I really look into. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on
Yeah, Luda Bang Bang. I like it. If you're going to go with a Lions player, I actually recommend not going with one of those deep route, type players. I think the Saints are actually I think the way they play cover, they're not willing to give you that deep ball. So I like people who are going to be willing to go over the middle, take a hit like St. Brown, maybe even Jahmyr Gibbs, with a short pass. So I would probably, if you're going to go with a Lions player, I would go St. Brown or Gibbs as one of the two. So
sure. And Puneet Pandas took Monty over his yards. My play, it's one of my laddered props. I have Montgomery 100 plus rushing yards. It's a lot, and I get it. But the Saints defense, if you just, it's one of those things where I love looking at this in every sport. Don't look at the entire season. Look at a smaller sample size. For baseball, I look at the past 14 days. For football and basketball, I look at the past month. And over the past month, the Saints are allowing 123 rushing yards per game. That's the fourth most in the entire NFL in that span. I love David Montgomery because he just gets consistent work. Winning, losing, it doesn't matter. They're going to feed him carries. He's had 12 carries in every single game that he's been healthy in. The only game where he did not have 12 carries was where he left early. He only played 18 snaps. Outside of that game, he averages 18 rushing attempts per game if you just take out the game in which he was hurt. He's had over 30 attempts once. He's had over 20 twice. And overall, he's had 15 or more in 5 of the 7 games he's played healthy. And Jared Goff has been terrible the past 2 weeks. So my guess is that the Lions are going to lean on the ground game in this one. I think they're going to give him a ton of carries. They've never been shy to give him a lot of work. And the reason why I like specifically Monty over Gibbs is just the fact that Gibbs is more of a change of pace receiving threat. And I think if they're winning, they're just going to feed Montgomery carries and not have Jared Goff lose the game against them. So the Saints, I think you brought it up. Their offense is just so banged up. Olave is going to play, but he's hurt. Yeah. And Michael Thomas is out. Rashid Shaheed is out. Everybody's out for the Saints offense. So I think that the Saints are going to be losing. The Lions are going to be winning, and they're going to be leaning on the ground game. Another laddered prop that I have is Juwan Johnson. I laddered both his receptions and yards. Again, outside of Olave and Kamara, there's nobody else for for the Saints. And Derek Carr has shown the propensity to feed Kamara targets. Now, of course, books aren't offering alternate reception props for Kamara because they're terrified. Yeah. But Derek Carr has never been one to just hyper target Olave for whatever reason. They just don't seem to be on the same page. So I'm calling my shot that I think that they're going to use Juwan Johnson a lot in this game. We saw signs of it last week. 45 receiving yards, that's a season high. 7 targets, that's also a season high. His previous high in targets was 5, and he had 4 receptions. So the Lions defense has always been good against the run, but you can throw against them. And the Saints are probably going to throw the ball like 50 times. That's what they do when they're losing. So 2 ladder props that I like in this one. Jameson Williams, the question, I just can't get there with Jameson Williams. He's been so bad.
Too consistent.
Yeah. I wouldn't touch it.
If you're looking for a receiving prop, the only prop I have on this game is Samuel Laporta over 38 and a half receiving yards. It's actually gone downwards, and it started up, I think, closer up to like 40.5 or something. So the fact that it's even moved down, that's the one prop. So to answer that guy, I am going to take Laporta over 30 and a half at FanDuel -110. And if you go look at the trends, he's missed this twice. So he's hit that at an 82% clip. And like I said, I think with the way that the Saints play D, they'd rather have you take small chunks up the middle. I think he might just aggregate this over volume over the course of the game. And just like Matt was saying, I think they're going to tone it down a little bit with the sexiness. They're going to run with Monty. And I think they're going to go for those short crossers over the middle. So I like Samuel Laporta to crush this line. And he's done it over 80% of the time this season. So let's take some value where they may be a little down on him in the market. So,
sure. Yeah, I like it. Comment from Miki over Kittle.
Oh, yeah, I like it too.
We'll get there. Trust me. We will get there. I also like that. Next game, Falcons, Jets. the lowest over-under of, I think, of the season so far.
Ooh,
I'm
yeah.
still taking the under. I'm taking under 33,
wow.
minus
Balls.
111 odds at Sport Trade. I don't have a ton of analysis here. Have you seen the weather for this game? Have you? It's
No, I haven't. I have not seen the weather because I don't really care. I have a pick in the game, but I don't. I did not see the weather.
Super windy,
really.
super rainy, disgusting weather. You're telling me Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke or Marcus Mariota or the corpse of Matt Ryan, I don't care who's at quarterback for the Falcons, and then freaking Tim Boyle on the other side. Like, you could give me an over-under of 9.5, and I'm taking the under on this one.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that's what I got. What do you have for this one?
The weather is that bad, huh? Okay.
Look it up. Yeah, look it up. It's like a hurricane.
You may have convinced me then to take a different bet too. So I'm gonna pull an audible here because Matt's analysis. So there is only one good unit on the field in this entire game. There's only one good unit, and that is the Jets defense. That is it. Nothing else. No one else is good in this game. So I can't blame you for the under. God, that's probably safer than my pick. I would lean Jets plus 2.5 because, like I said, I have faith in only one unit on that entire field. So that is my only rationale. But I was looking at this. Now I may take it. I was already leaning towards this, but with Matt's weather analysis as a meteorologist, I was looking at Tim Boyle under on passing yards. I was looking at his under on passing yards.
So I meant to mention that I took his under, but I think because of the news, it's just been tanked. Yeah, so I took him under 180. Right now
it hasn't tanked though. It's 176.
So it's tanked a little bit. So I would still take it. Yeah, no, you can add that to my official plays. Tim Boyle under 176 passing yards. I meant to mention that. I forgot to write it down.
176.5 on Caesars at plus money. I kind of like it. So Matt got a better number, but I kind of like that. Under 176.5 plus 106 on Caesars. That's not bad. I'm gonna take that to go with his weather report.
There we go. Meteorologist. All right, next game, Cardinals, Steelers. What do you have in this one?
Oh my God. I don't know, man. This is a rough one. So I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have a play on this because that number is kind of at that weird 6 range where I just have more faith when Tomlin and the Steelers are in this like underdog role and,
for sure.
and need to cover a plus spread than cover a large number like 6. So I'm actually going to stay away from the main markets. I mean, if you had it at like 7.5, and you caught that earlier, I probably would have just gone Cardinals, honestly. At this range, it's a stay away. So I'm not gonna. I don't have enough faith in the Steelers' offense more than anything to cover that large of a number. Where, yeah, the Cardinals suck, but they're not world beaters. But now you have Kyler Murray, who is able to move the ball and who is able to put some points on the board. So if you can catch it at 7.5, I'd actually go Cardinals to cover. But at 6, to me, that's kind of a stay away zone, honestly. I have a question for you after you give your picks. I'm just intrigued by Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah.
I don't understand what happened last week. I mean, I kind of do. All the pressure from the Browns needing some dump offs, but nine receptions and 100 was it 100?
He doubled
100?
his receiving yards on the season in one game.
I want to debate that with you afterwards, but I don't have much on the main markets on this one, unfortunately. So
yeah, I only have a player prop. It's another pumped up one. Najee Harris, 90 plus rushing yards. I got it at plus 350 at DraftKings. Heading into this week, I knew I wanted to target the Steelers running back, and it was basically between Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. I ended up going with Najee just because he gets more consistent work, kind of similar to the Montgomery over Gibbs. It's Jaylen Warren is the change of pace. He's the receiving back. He's more of the scat back. Najee, is going to get, if the games that they're winning, he's going to get more carries. And the reason why I wanted to target a Steelers running back is because how bad the Arizona Cardinals rushing defense has been. They've been horrible over the past month. They're allowing 142 rushing yards per game. That is by far the most in the NFL. That is so far and above the next worst team. And look at what recent running backs have done. Last week, Kyron Williams rushed for 143. The week before that, Devin Singletary rushed for 112. The game before that, Bijan rushed for 95. Last week in the Steelers' first game without Matt Canada, Najee had 99 rushing yards on 15 carries. He had 2 separate 20-plus yard runs. And after the first 6 games where he was pretty brutal. He's been really good 3 of the past 4 weeks, and I just think they're going to continue to lean on both him and Jalen Warren. Again, you could really convince me on either one. I called my shot on Najee for the rushing yards. In terms of, and just the comment, I would hammer this 57.5. I think is a crazy over under for Najee. I would hammer his main line. Obviously, I laddered it up to 90. The Freiermuth thing, I think, was more matchup dependent because they played the Bengals last week, and the Bengals defense is like one of the worst, specifically against tight ends. And Kenny Pickett had never utilized the middle of the field like the entire year, and then last week, that's basically all he did. So I wouldn't chase that.
Yeah. The Najee angle, I was surprised because last week one of my picks here on this show was Jalen Warren. I was surprised that the workload was stilted so heavily still towards Najee after Jalen Warren has been playing pretty decently. Luckily, Warren covered by half a yard, and we got the W from the pick from the show.
That's all that counts.
But I agree. I think just because of what I saw last week, I'm like, because I guess he has been consistent. They still are leaning on him as RB1, which I was I thought it was starting to fade a little bit, but his workload is still staying up there. And I got lucky last week with my Warren pick, but I would roll with Najee. I like that. I like that pick a lot. So
cool. All right. So next game, Colts Titans. I'm just keeping it simple. Colts money line. It's minus 115 at Caesars. Everybody fell in love with Will Levis in his first start where he had 4 touchdowns and no interceptions.
I did. Yeah, I did too.
I mean, I did too, for sure. I did too. In the 4 games since that start, he has thrown for a total of 2 touchdowns with 2 interceptions. In those 4 games, he's averaged 201 passing yards per game. And if you take out the first game in which he played, so I guess his second start, his first game after his blow-up game against the Steelers, he threw for 260 yards. Like 60 of that was in the last 2 drives where they were just dinking and dunking it down the field. Outside of that game, he's averaging 180 passing yards in his past 3 games. In those 4 games since their first victory, the Titans have gone 1-3. Their only win was against the Panthers, who fired their head coach after it. And the Colts have impressed me. Like, they're not obviously a world beater, but even with Anthony Richardson getting hurt, like Gardner Minshew has been fine. The Colts have been solid. I love the Colts money line in this one. The Will Levis is he had 1 good start and that's it. So I'm going to take the Colts in this one.
Yeah, I feel the same. I mean, the only thing that concerns me is with JT. I know that I think regardless of if he was playing, like, it would be tough to run against the Titans. So I don't know that it necessarily changes their game plan that much, but just losing that threat, obviously. Now the Titans get to scheme up, to focus on the pass. The only issue, though, is Titans can't stop the pass, right? So that's, I guess you could argue it both ways. But, I think the Colts, they're on a little heater here. I think, right, they're still in contention. I mean, if they get a win, they're in the thick of the hunt. So I think they got a lot to play for. So I would just roll and keep life simple like you. Colts money line. I'm not even going to think about spread or anything like that. I just say Colts money line. Keep it simple. Maybe I don't know. Josh Downs TD. What do you think about a Downs TD? Just because of the secondary issues on the other side.
I like Josh Downs. I think that's a good play. Real quick, just one comment. Levis passing yards at 213. I would take the under. It's like 207 at FanDuel, 207 at some other fantasy books. I think that's a pretty good price if you can take the under there. Regarding your question about Downs, for me, I didn't know who to choose between Pittman and Downs. You're going to get better odds on Downs, so I think for that logic, it would make sense to go with him. I like it. I'm not going to talk you out of that. We can pencil that in, or we can talk about that when we do our.
I was only thinking just because of value, because Pitts would be the more obvious choice.
270. I mean, that's pretty good. I like Josh Downs.
Yeah, I was looking at it's hard now because now they don't have Football Outsiders, so it's harder to find some of these breakdowns. Like, you have to kind of look piecemeal at times, but like
it's on sorry to interrupt you. It's on FTN Network. If you're looking at like DVOA and stuff, it all just got transferred over to
FTN. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Schatz, the guy who runs DVOA, he got hired by FTN, so it's the same thing. Okay. So anyways, gotcha. Go ahead.
No, because I think there was a stat that I just piecemealed it through several articles I was reading that wide receiver 2s is where they're a little vulnerable just from an analytical standpoint. So And that's why if that's the case, it wasn't just to be like, oh, Downs has more plus odds, but it's I think from a statistical standpoint, they seem to really just want to clamp down the wide receiver one in particular. And, I think it was wide receiver twos they've been struggling against.
So to your point, wide receiver twos, Tennessee is the second worst team in the NFL at guarding wide receiver twos. The only team worse than them is Buffalo.
Okay, so pencil that in. I am going to sprinkle
on
Josh Downs.
I'm going to take that straight up.
TD. There you go.
And we can think about it for our parlay as well. I mean, does that also? I mean, we can talk about it. Yards and receptions. I mean, do we just hammer everything Josh Downs?
It's not a bad idea actually. So,
all right. Next game, and this is another total slop fest from a weather perspective. Dolphins Commanders. What do you have in this one?
Oh my God, it is a big number, and I know everyone's like, Commanders are rested 10 days, blah blah blah.
I'm rested. Who cares if you're rested?
I just don't care. So and it's interesting because some of the books it's now under important numbers. It's so Dolphins -8.5 is available, -110 on DraftKings. I'm not even going to overthink this, and I will just continue to live with it. It's when you're playing the Dolphins versus a crappier team like the Commanders, -8.5 Dolphins. I'll take that spread. I do have a prop. In my mind, again, this is me. In my mind, the Dolphins are going to be winning this game, even if it is kind of a bad weather game. I think Sam Howell, for whatever reason, the Commanders, regardless of game script, they're like, just sling it, man. And they don't seem to care how often he throws the damn ball. So I'm going to also play over 38.5 pass attempts. So it's a lot. But I don't know. Go look at their numbers. Sam Howell just throws the damn ball nonstop. They throw the ball. So, and in my mind, if it's a negative game script, that should help that cause. So I'm going Dolphins -8.5 and Sam Howell over 38.5 pass attempts. The Dolphins receivers, good Lord, for scoring touchdowns and receiving yards, they're so juiced. It's like, the books are like, just give us your money. So I'm not even going to bother on any Dolphins receiver props at this point. So at this juncture of the season.
Me too. I mean, Tyreek Hill's over-under is 105.
It's insane. It's insanity. It's insanity.
And to your point about Sam Howell, here are his passing attempts on the year, his entire season. So the first three, 31, 39, 29. So he only would have hit it. He only would have hit it in one of the first three games. Since then, 41. 51, 23, 42, 52, 45, 44, 45, 44. So,
insane.
It's a lot of passing attempts. The only thing that would scare me off is the weather. It's a total slop fest, and FedEx Field is the worst field, the worst venue, the worst everything in sports. So maybe they haven't done that all year. So I don't necessarily know that they're going to do it just because the weather's bad. So a lot of people asking about like how passing yards. Yeah, I'm not going to talk anybody out of that. He's going to pass a ton. And maybe the weather will hold up. Like I know in Philly, that game's in the afternoon. It's the later games at 4:25. The rain's supposed to be passed by then, so maybe the rain will be passed by some of these other games starting at 1. We'll just have to see. But to answer some questions, like the odds are not in your favor for any Dolphins receiver. Like the books are not going to be caught with their pants down for any Dolphins receiver. Tyreek Hill's -135 to score. If anything, I would take Jalen Waddle. He's +140. Like I would rather take that.
Yeah. Puni Panda. So we're not saying we don't think he's gonna score. It's just the value is gone. It's just there's not much value.
Exactly.
There. Yeah.
It's like David Montgomery, maybe in a parlay piece. But straight up, I'm with you. So all right, next game, Panthers versus Bucks. I'm just taking the Panthers spread +6.5. I got it at -122 at Sport Trade. I think it's 5 or 5.5 now. I would still take.
It's been crushed down, I think.
Yeah, I would still take it at that number as long as you can get above a field goal and like, wow, it's at 3.5.
Yeah, it's been crushed. You got great.
You weren't kidding. Yeah, I got it at mine. No. I got it at 6.5. Okay, maybe I wouldn't touch it at 3.5. My whole aim. I didn't realize that I thought it was down to 5.
No, crushed, absolutely.
That's crazy.
Crushed. You got a great number there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so my logic was really just the new head coach bump. Yeah, that's really what it is. I looked up the stats. By looked it up, I mean I read an article that did the research for me. But since 2018, 13 coaches have been fired mid-season. In those first games after the firing, they're 8-5 straight up. They're 29-55 after that second game on. And I don't want to take them to win straight up. They're too bad. But for my at 6.5, I liked it. I don't know if I like it at 3.5. So I guess that's probably just a stay away from me. Anyway, so what do you have for this one?
Yeah, it's a stay away, but because I definitely did not get anything near what you got, but I do think if you're going to take a team, I would lean Panthers plus 3.5 just because. Look, the firing of the coach, offensively, they have their moments. The Bucks are just a wreck right now. So I would just go Panthers 3.5. I also wouldn't blame you to go under. Man, I'm usually not an unders person, but under 37 minus 112 at DraftKings. I'm dabbling in that a little bit. And this is one of the spots where, again, I don't blindly tell people to do this. We actually cashed this before. Tommy Tremble.
There we go. Tremble. Let's go.
And see, like, look, Matt has asked me a few times, we doing Tremble this week? I'm like, no. I wait for a spot. I don't blindly just pick the damn player over and over. This is another scenario where the Bucks are bottom 5 against tight ends and tight ends finding pay dirt. So they're willing to stuff the run. They don't want to give it up to your wideouts on the edges, but tight ends have been able to find some pay dirt. So this is another one of those smash spots where you give me a weakness on a team and you give me the opportunity to bet plus 750 on Tommy Tremble at PointsBet, or I guess if you have Fanatics in some of your states, plus 750. Everywhere else, it's a lot lower, but you can still get them at plus 750 on PointsBet. And I was going to say,
where do you see that? Because FanDuel isn't even offering it. It's not even the only book that I'm seeing is MGM at 375, which at that point, I'm sure you would say it's not worth it.
No. Now, I would say only touch it if you're going to get it north of 650. I would say I wouldn't touch it under 650. And I actually sat with the calculator and just figuring out probabilities. I would not touch it anything south of 650. So it's just not worth it. But 750, if you're in a state that has Fanatics, which I don't, but I do have PointsBet. Luckily, even though I'm limited, this is not one of those where you should go buck wild. So even with my limited betting, it's worth betting, sprinkling a little on Tommy Tremble plus 750.
Yeah, and I would just say monitor the books leading up to the game time. Maybe they'll add it back up closer to when the game starts, just something to look at. But we can move on. Next game, Browns versus Rams. What do you have here?
Oh, good Lord. Again, it's more of faith in Stafford and the few stud receivers that he has. That's it. I just don't know the Browns are going to be able to score enough. Yes, their D is good. You have one of the best defensive players, but I think from what I read, Garrett's not totally healthy. He's playing through like a shoulder problem, felt something pop, or I think that's at least what I read. So
he's playing, and he doesn't have an injury designation. So
he did get an injury designation on I think it was he was placed on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think, but they basically said he's going to play or something. So it's really more like it's on paper, but he's playing.
Okay.
So. But I don't know. Maybe he is at full health. Maybe he's not. But I am just going to roll with the Rams minus 3.5, minus 105 on Bet River. So I'm still leaning Rams to cover. Don't like the fact that it's 3.5. If you can wait, see who gets the coin flip. If the Browns get the coin flip, they go on a decent drive and that starts going under 3.5 and you can catch it live at 3 or 2.5 or something, then that's maybe even a better way to go about it. Just see how the game flow goes. But pre-match, minus 3.5 Rams. That's really all I got on this game. I don't really want much of this nonsense. So
yeah, that's fair. So I actually am opposite. I have the Browns money line. This is a sprinkle. I'm not putting a lot on this. It's plus 170 at Caesars. So I looked it up, and the article I read said that he has no injury designation. So I don't know if I guess we're seeing conflicting reports. I'm guessing it just depends on when my article was posted versus when yours was. Mine was yesterday. It was a Saturday article, but regardless, I'm not a believer of the Browns, and I'm certainly not a believer of Joe Flacco, but we've seen games with the Rams where if their offensive line can't protect Stafford, they're not even going to score 10 points. You know what I mean? And that's what I worry is going to happen in this game. If they can't protect him, Stafford really can't move the way he used to. And we've seen situations where they literally are just hopeless, like against the Cowboys, even before Stafford got hurt. No hope against the Cowboys. The Rams didn't score a second half touchdown against the Eagles when the Eagles offensive or defensive line really started to come on in the second half. That's what I worry about happening for the Rams in this one. Assuming Myles Garrett is healthy, he's just going to wreak havoc on a statue quarterback and a bad offensive line. And we've seen games in the past where the Browns have no business winning, but they do because their defense is able to just shut down the opposing team's offense. So that's kind of what we're expecting in this one. I do have a prop, another sprinkle, Kareem Hunt over 28.5 rushing yards. With Flacco starting and assuming the Rams aren't just completely putting up points, I think that they're going to lean on the ground game, opt for ball control type of offense. Hunt is not a world beater, but we literally only need him to get to essentially 30 yards. And in 9 games this year, he's hit it in 6. And there was a stretch. So he missed it in the first 2 that he played. Then he hit it in 6 straight. And then he missed it last week. And really, if you look at it, every game he has double-digit carries, he has 30 more rushing yards. Every game he's gone under double digits, he's gone under 30 rushing yards. So it kind of is as simple as that. And in a game in which, again, assuming the Rams don't get out to an early lead, which I'm not projecting, I think they're just going to lean on the ground game and hope that Flacco doesn't lose it for them. So that's why I'm going with Hunt over 28.5 rushing yards.
Got Myles Garrett, half a sack available on ESPN Bet and on FanDuel as well. So he's didn't get one last time, but he got 2, 1.5, 1, 1, 2, none, 1, 3.5. So he's
crazy.
So if he is healthy, half a sack is available, guys. So all he's got to get is not over, but he's just got to get half a sack, and you'll cash that on ESPN Bet or FanDuel. It's juiced -140, but from a probability standpoint, I mean, he's been covering this at 70-something%, guys. So that's something to think about if you read the injury stuff and see that he is fully healthy.
Well, I hope he keeps it up because preseason I put a half unit on all my season predictions, and I had him for Defensive Player of the Year. Right now he's the favorite at +150. Right behind him is Micah Parsons. So I hope that
Parsons,
Garrett.
Garrett should get it.
Yeah. So all right, next game, 49ers versus Eagles, the game of the week. It's the 49ers Super Bowl in December, week 13. Congratulations. After losing in the NFC Championship and filling up countless diapers over the preceding 10 months, they finally get the rematch. The winner of this game wins the Super Bowl for the 49ers. The Eagles, it's just another week 13 game as they have a 2-game lead. They can lose this game and still be fine, but the 49ers, for whatever reason, I've never seen a whiny bunch of babies more in my life than the 49ers after they lost to the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. With that said, I think the 49ers win. I think they're going to win. I took them -2.5. It opened up at a pick'em, quickly got bet up to the money line at -145. And again, it's the 49ers Super Bowl. They're going to do everything they can to win this game. But I'm with the 49ers. There's a ton of factors in favor of San Francisco. Number one, the schedule for the Eagles in terms of rest has been brutal, is going to be brutal for last week, this week, and next week. So they played the Bills. Their defense played 90 snaps, which, again, that's not the schedule's fault. But now they have to play the 49ers, and the 49ers played on Thursday. So the 49ers are not only having extra rest from the number of days of rest, but the Eagles' defense is banged up. The Eagles can't keep playing the way they're playing and winning, but they keep doing it and they keep winning. Eventually, it's just gonna bite them. And the 49ers, if you look at Brock Purdy's stats, when he's ahead, he's the best quarterback in the NFL by far. When he's behind, he's terrible, and he hasn't been behind a lot, so that hasn't really come up. So if the Eagles start slow again, which they've done, they've been down double digits in each of the past, I think, 4 straight games. If that happens against the 49ers, you're screwed. And maybe the Eagles get it up at the beginning of the game because of how much the 49ers have talked trash and cried after losing in the NFC Championship game. But I just think the 49ers, honestly, with not being an Eagles fan, I just think they're better. They're front runners. And look at the 49ers margins of victory. 23, 7, 18, 19, 32, 31, 13, 18. I think that they're going to win. Comment in the chat. I've been betting against the Eagles all year. Not exactly true. I had the Eagles winning and covering against the Cowboys. That came true. I did not have a prediction last week. So I didn't give out anything for Sunday. So you can't be mad at me there. I also have 2 props that I'll go over real quick. Purdy 300. These are the pumped up variety.
Sure.
Purdy 300 plus passing,
Ooh,
and
wow.
in Kittle 70 plus receiving.
Mhm.
If you ask me to choose between the two, I'm definitely more confident in Kittle than I am in Purdy. Eagles defense, literally 32nd, the worst defense in the NFL at guarding the opposing tight ends, according to DVOA. And what I like about Kittle is generally the plan with Kittle is if the 49ers are missing one of their receivers, then take Kittle. But he's gone over this number in 2 games in which Debo has played, which makes me feel a lot more confident. Like Debo healthy, Kittle had 116. Another game with Debo healthy, he's had 89 receiving yards. So I love Kittle in this matchup. If you want to take him anytime touchdown yards, I think he's going to have a good game.
Yeah, I got to keep it simple. I took 49ers minus 2.5 at DraftKings, which is still up right now. I don't know what odds you got. You're 2.5, but it's minus 118 on DraftKings. So that's one of the few places it's at 2.5. A lot of places it's still at 3. So there's been some line movement back down. So 49ers minus 2.5 for all the reasons. It was interesting. If you look at, I don't know how much people buy into it, but if you look at like Action Networks, like in one of their data tables, they have luck rankings, and the Eagles have had a very high luck ranking or fortune. And I think just even from the eye test and anecdote, right? I mean, look what happened last week. I mean, there's things that happen. People will say, well, you make your own good fortune. Yeah, I get it. But so they are a good team, but they've also had good fortune basically happen. And I just think that maybe that runs out this week, basically. So, and also because of the defensive drainage that Matt was talking about, I do think, yeah, I don't know what it is, but the 49ers, like, they want this so bad, and they might pop champagne after this victory if they win this one. But I think they are going to be willing to just tear them up in the middle with Kittle. So Kittle was just a straight play. I didn't have pumped up props, but I have Kittle over 46.5 receiving yards as we kind of both mentioned when someone mentioned Kittle earlier. We both liked it. So I'm definitely high on George Kittle as well. So yeah, 49ers minus 2.5, Kittle over 46.5 receiving yards, which you can find at pretty much most books. So you can take 47.5 if you don't want juice, but I'll just take the 46.5 basically. So
yeah, we have, my mouse keeps acting up, so I can't get the comments up, but we have a lot of comments about Brandon Ayuk. I was debating between Ayuk and Kittle. I settled on Kittle just because of how bad the Eagles are, specifically against tight ends.
Yeah.
But for his main line, I like Ayuk as well. Like Debo is a great player, but he's more of a gadget. Like he's going to receive rushing attempts and stuff. Ayuk is their number 1 drop back passing receiver. So I like Ayuk in this one.
Yeah, and for me too, I think between Ayuk and Debo, I would go Ayuk. Just for all the same reasons, and for whatever it's worth. I don't know how much people buy into these like fantasy projection models and stuff, but Ayuk he's actually projected like 10 yards higher than his current line by props.cash. So if you go by these like fantasy fantasy type of projection models, the models seem to like him today. So I'd pick Ayuk over Debo too. So
yeah, there you go. And in terms of anytime touchdowns, I like Kittle. I also do like Ayuk. On the Eagles side, my favorite one is Swift. He's at plus 180.
Swift is a good one. Yeah.
The past 2 weeks, the Eagles offense has been stuck in mud in the first half. In the second half, both times they got going was because of a run to DeAndre Swift. So he's very important to the Eagles. The 49ers, you can run on them. So as long as the Eagles aren't completely getting gashed, as long as they're not down by a lot, you can run on the 49ers. So in terms of the Eagles side, I like Swift, but my favorite one I think is Kittle, if I had to give one.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Last game. We have Sunday night football between, where are my notes? Chiefs and Packers. What do you have in this one?
So again, I'm just going to go with Chiefs -6. I like the fact that it's under 6.5 right now. So I am going to go Chiefs -6, minus 108 at FanDuel, not even with a lot of juice. So, I got burned by the Packers last week because I was high on the Lions, and what a show by Jordan Love. But this is a legitimate defense. And I think that's going to give a young QB fits today. So I think maybe they're going to ride high on confidence, still let them air it out, and they're going to get smashed in the mouth by this defense of the Chiefs. Now, Chiefs on the offensive side, that's where I'm worried more than the defense. But I think with an experienced QB like Patrick Mahomes, they'll find a way to just cover one touchdown versus Jordan Love. The other angle I like real quick would just be and I know this is very low hanging fruit and everyone kind of does this, but the rushing angle versus the Packers. I'm going to go with Pacheco over rushing 65.5 yards. Cause again, I see a positive game script and I think they're going to run frequently when they have the opportunity with the lead to just kill the clock. So you can get over 65.5 at -110 on FanDuel. So that's one of the props I like in addition to the main market bet. So.
Yeah. So earlier this week, I locked in Packers +7. I wouldn't touch it below a touchdown. So I think you getting it at 6.5 makes sense in favor of the Chiefs. I have 2 player props. I like Pacheco, but from an anytime touchdown perspective, he's probably my favorite anytime touchdown of the slate when you consider the odds and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's +115 at ESPN Bet. Or +105 at FanDuel if you can only get $10 like me on ESPN Bet.
ESPN Bet is the worst. Can I tell you that?
They're super lame.
So horrible.
Super lame. It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, they've been their offense has been struggling and they've been leaning on Pacheco a lot. And he's had some really, really good games for them. Like last week against the Raiders, they really got it going because of him. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. The Packers defense is generally pretty good against the pass, but you can run on them. And I think that the Chiefs, it's a different year for the Chiefs. Like they're not just airing it out with Mahomes. They're relying on the ground game. So I like Pacheco anytime touchdown. I also like Mahomes over 3.5 rushing attempts for the same logic as their passing offense. Just hasn't quite been there. This is at -105 at BetMGM. This was a play that it was an EV play that I found just price shopping using OddsJam, but I looked into it and I ended up really liking it as more than just a plus EV play. Mahomes has sneakily been running a lot this year. He's gone 5 or more attempts in 8 of 11 games this year. And I am expecting the Packers to be able to keep it a little bit closer than you. So I think that he's going to need to use his legs to rush because, again, they just haven't had the same success on offense. So I think there's kind of a correlation there. So, yeah, I was a half unit play. I wasn't going to hammer it, but Mahomes rushing attempts. Yeah, something that I did really like.
Nice. No, I like it. Yeah, I think they're going to run quite a bit, whether it's with him, some design runs, scramble plays, running with Pacheco. I like the Pacheco touchdown angle too. That's pretty good value in a game where they're vulnerable versus the run. So I like that. That's a nice straight, good odds, straight TD play. So
yeah. So all right. Anything else for any of the games, or is it time for some parlay degeneracy?
Yeah, let's make our parlay. Let's go ahead and just dive into it, man.
All right. So for a couple of anytime touchdowns we liked, I think we both like Kittle.
Yeah, Kittle. Yeah. Well, Pacheco, I'm convinced on that too. I like that one.
So Kittle. Oh, so I guess Pacheco moved down to -105, but that's okay.
That's still okay. I see that happening though.
Yeah, so. Kittle's +180, Pacheco's -105, and the other one that we liked was Josh Downs.
Yeah.
So if we parlay those 3, +1868 on FanDuel.
Oh wow! Just for those 3?
Just for those 3.
Okay. I guess that was an easy one. Today we didn't even debate that long. That's easy. That's
so
easy.
I am going to put a quarter unit on that bad boy. But again, anytime touchdown, Kittle, Pacheco, Downs.
Okay.
Let me screenshot this so I can tweet it out later. And then do you have any, plus 20,000 bangers that has come through for us in the past?
I was looking, but man, I mean, think about the games we talked about today, right?
I know.
It's just, I don't even know if they're going to score in that Jets-Falcons game. I don't even know how much they're going to score in that Patriots game versus the Chargers and the Browns-Rams game. So, all those, multi-game FanDuel specials, none of them really popped off the page. And like I said, I'm never going to force it and tell you to just waste money on a plus 20,000. So, nothing, unfortunately, stood out there. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Bunch of crap games, unfortunately, guys. So
I know. So if we want to do a pumped up parlay of some of the players that we like, Josh Downs 60+ yards is +118. We liked Kittle. I know we have him. I know these are players that we're also taking for touchdowns, but if we just like it, and we don't have to do this, I'm just kind of spitballing here. And then if we do Kittle 60+ receiving yards, that's +152 on FanDuel.
You like Najee, right? That was one of your pumped up ones for
Najee
rushing.
was one. So if we take Najee,
Yeah.
if we go Najee 70 plus.
70 plus sounds reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. So those three right now,
Uh-huh.
plus 118, or sorry, plus 1,200 essentially.
Plus 1,200. Wow.
For those three.
For just that, huh?
Yeah. Do we add more? Do we just leave it?
Let's not test fate. Quadruple digits for something not absurd. Like Downs is not absurd. Like
no, I agree.
That Titan secondary sucks, man. And then
not good. Yeah,
not good. I think out of those three, right? It's like, I guess just Najee. Will Najee be effective yards per carry? I think that's the only one that's like
he'll get volume, but that's always the concern.
The Cardinals' run D sucks ass. So
they're terrible. Yeah, they're terrible.
Okay, no, I'd say let's leave it. Let's leave. Let's not push the agenda. 1,200 is very respectable for a parlay. So
yeah. So all right, do we want to do something crazy, or do we want to just leave it at these two and hope that we can get one?
Oh, let's do like a $2. Let's do like let's go for long. Let's change it up. Let's go for like main markets. Let's so not be we don't have to cringe at injuries and someone going to the medical tent. So let's
fair. All right. So main lines that we agreed on was San Francisco.
Yep. Colts money line, right?
The Dolphins, Colts money line. Who else did we agree on? The Panthers not at that number. You like the over in Broncos Texans, right?
Don't love it though. Yeah.
Okay, we can then we have the under in the Jets Falcons under 33.5.
Okay.
We don't have to do, I mean,
okay.
There's not a lot of options for main line just because there's so many bye weeks.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, let me see here. How about
real quick, while you're thinking, a question. So Kittle pumped up straight up. I took at 70 plus. In the parlay, we took Kittle 60 plus. So depending which one you're looking for, I'll tweet these out. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll tweet them out so you can just tail from there. But anyway, so what do you got?
Yeah, you're right. There's not a ton on the main markets. What about let's see here. Yeah, there isn't much options, huh?
No.
Maybe we might have to just bomb it with the TD one then. So, all right.
God, stupid. I think I need to change the batteries on my mouse because I can't. It keeps freezing up on me.
Okay, let's just go through these games real fast and let's think of some long shots ones. So, you said for a long shot, Waddle, right? For some value, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, long shot, it was plus 140. So I don't necessarily know how much of a long shot that is. Like, if we really want to go a long shot, how about Sam Howell runs one in?
Oh God, Sam Howell runs one in
plus 500.
Okay.
Again, we don't. I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there. Jahan Dotson. Anyway,
what do you got? How about Howell?
Okay.
Let's go with your Mahomes angle, running it in.
Ooh, so a quarterback one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm going for now.
Okay, so just those two gets us to plus 3,300.
Okay, there you go.
I think we got to add one more.
Got it.
We need to get this to like $2 to win. Let's see. Right now it's 2 to win 60. It's got to be 2 to win over 100.
Oh, I'm trying to think of Kyler Murray, or I know pick. I know it's tough to run on the Steelers, but Kyler Murray's got legs.
He can scoot. He's plus 270. He's plus 270.
Nah, I don't think Pickett's going to risk his health today when he knows Najee or Warren could run it in. So forget Pickett. But that would be juicy as hell, though.
What about if we really want to get? Oh, they're not offering it. I want to do Cunningham for the Patriots if they do like some random.
Oh yeah, that's what he's there for, though. That's what he's there for.
They're not. FanDuel doesn't have it. Let me check.
God,
let me check other. Let me check.
That would actually be pretty nice. I actually like that one. That's sexy.
Wow, the books aren't even offering it. They're terrified. That's lame. Herbert? No, he doesn't really run that much.
That's funny though. I'm terrified.
Yeah, stupid sports books. All right, I'm trying to think of other. I mean, Jawan Jennings plus 360. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that. That's not super juicy. I mean, just a plus
That is
360.
nice though. I mean, I mean, that's like legit reasonable, right? That's to me, that's way more reasonable than Howell running one in. But
so if we add Jawan Johnson, it's plus 15,000.
yeah, I say let's do it then. I mean, look, I actually considered Jawan earlier. I'm like, I don't know, man. It's Saints offense is just atrocious in the red zone.
Not great.
But
all
yeah,
right.
Okay. All right.
So let's do it. 3 crazy long shot parlays. This is the craziest. Sam Howell, Patrick Mahomes, Jawan Johnson, plus 15,000 on FanDuel.
I could see Mahomes and Johnson. It's the Sam Howell one that worries.
That's the scary one. That's also the longest odds. That one's plus 500.
But that's what's juicing it up. So
yeah, exactly. So cool. All right. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in. It was pretty active in the chat, which I love, which I appreciate. Again, we know that there's a lot of avenues in which people can get last minute stuff for the NFL. So it's always cool when people choose us two idiots to babble. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Let's all make some money today, and we'll catch you next week.
Awesome.